Do 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 do.
Mana mana.
Do do. Okay, I'm sorry.
What's wrong?
It's like the equivalent of a human going, ah! Staying alive.
It's okay, he's gone. The Wookiee's gone. Beep boop 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 beep beep. That's Janito.
Hey, thanks for watching with us today. Hey, can I just say this? It's a good thing babies are cute. God knew exactly what he was doing when he made babies. He made them cute and cuddly and adorable, and it's a good thing. You know why? Because they can really be a pain. I don't know if you've noticed this, but babies are incredibly demanding. Well, they're really not demanding. All they want is exactly what they want, exactly when they want it, exactly how they want it. That's not demanding at all. When babies are hungry, you know what they want? Food now. Not later, not yesterday, now, right now. It's as if I've never had any and I'll die in the next 30 seconds if I don't get some. When they want a diaper changed, they don't want it changed yesterday. They want it changed tomorrow. They want it changed now, right now. This is a problem. I don't like the way I feel. When something is wrong with them, when they just want attention, they want it now and they demand it now. They don't have words to put to it, but they can control the entire house. When they want to sleep, they want to go to sleep. And when you want to sleep, they want to not go to sleep. And they'll let you know. You know when they'll let you know? Now. Some of you are like, we're not talking about babies. You're actually describing the person I'm married to. Be careful. I didn't start this to start an argument. Some of you are like, you're not describing a newborn. You're describing my teenage daughter or son. That's not nice. It's true, but not nice. I'm just saying babies are cute, but babies are very entitled. They know what they want. They want it now, and they'll get it one way or another most of the time. We're in a series right now called Tensions, and the series is built on this thought that some things are as simple as just an answer to be found. It's a question to be answered. But then we live with a lot of things that are tensions that we're not ever going to get completely on the other side of. We're never going to say, hey, I've arrived. That's done. Today's tension is the tension between entitlement and gratitude. Now, when I throw the word entitlement at it, it's almost a slur to some of us because it's like, well, I'm not an entitled person. I'm a very grateful person. And you may be completely right. You may not be a very entitled person, and you may be very grateful. What I want to get to is this weird spot. I feel like I work hard on not being entitled. I think about it. I pray about it. I try to watch for it in my own life. And then the other side, I try to take steps on purpose, diligently to be grateful. I read books about it. I study things about it. I read verses about it. I try to measure it in my own life. But here's the crazy thing. There are times when I find myself thinking in ways that are quite entitled. And there are times when I feel like I'm very grateful. The problem is there is such a thin line between entitlement and gratitude that sometimes I kind of steer my life over into this entitlement thing, and I don't even really notice it. There are some things that today we want to look at to help us notice when we're crossing into that lane, when we're coming into oncoming traffic with entitlement. And then there's other times when I can swing over into gratitude. It is just a very narrow boundary. What we want to get to today is how do we notice when we're there? All of us do. This is a tension to be managed. We're never going to go, I used to be and kind of had some entitlement stuff, but now I'm just grateful. You may think you are, but if that's what you think you are, you probably are completely blind to how much entitlement, because people who are that prideful seldom have very little, they typically have very little self-awareness. And people who aren't very self-aware are very entitled typically. So today we want to kind of dig into that, and really the goal's not to say, hey, I'm talking to a bunch of really entitled people, get on your game. It's really not that. I suspect the fact that you're viewing this, the fact that you sliced out some time, probably tells a lot about who you are. So I'm not trying to say we're trying to figure out, are you entitled or grateful? I'm trying to figure out how normal people in life can recognize when they're sliding in a direction they don't need to, and just take small corrective action to stay in our lane, to stay where we're supposed to be in a healthy place. All through the book of Exodus, we read a story about how God's chosen people, Israel, the people he had set aside, they ended up in a horrible situation. They ended up in slavery. They were abused and they were neglected and they were in pain. And then God decides one day that it is time to free them from that. Here's the word they use in the Bible, to deliver them. The problem is there's a man in charge. He is Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says they come in handy. I like having somebody make the bricks and build my houses and pave the streets. I like having people make my food, grow my food. I like being in charge, and I like not paying them anything. Some of you go, I work in that same situation. Careful. Here's where we go with it. Eventually, God said, I'll do whatever it takes to change this. And if you remember the whole story in the book of Exodus, God sends plagues, and Pharaoh is hard-hearted and strong-willed, and he's like, I don't care, we're fine. And it gets worse and worse until it eventually affects Pharaoh enough that he says, get them out of here. I'm sick of it. It isn't worth all of this, and so let them go. And this isn't 12 people. This isn't 1,200 people or 12,000 people. This is like taking, for us in our little area, this is taking all of West and most of Middle Tennessee and saying, get away. So it takes a minute. It's a thing. Even just getting that many people going in the same direction, can you even imagine? And so they head off away from the land of slavery, away from the pain, away from the horror. And what they have is just a promise for something better, and that's what they're moving toward. It's not visible, it's not obvious, and it's not concrete. It's just toward, God is taking us from the worst, he's pointing us toward the better, and here we go. And as they do that, they know there's something coming up until they finally get to the water's edge, and now they go, hey, how do we get across that? In the meantime, Pharaoh says, wait a minute. You know what? I've changed my mind. Now, if he was anybody but who he was, he would have said, I've made a mistake. But guys like him don't make a mistake. They change their mind. He said, get them back. And so he saddles up all the horses and chariots and all of the king's men and sends them to go get those people back. And so now God's people are between the devil and the deep blue sea. And they're like, now what? If you know the whole story, God parts the waters and they cross over. They get to the other side. That's not a 10-minute proposition. Can you imagine tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people making their way across? And they're not crossing over the creek. They're crossing over huge body of water. They get to the other side. In the meantime, the chariots and the armies are right behind them. God closes in the waters, and the bad guys lose. The good guys win, and everybody on the good guy side is like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what God can do. Look at God. Woo! Rock on God. They get to the other side and they just party. They party big. Matter of fact, in Exodus chapter 15, there's a whole chapter around the songs that they were singing. Matter of fact, I've got a few of the verses here. I'll just read them. Moses and the people of Israel sang this song to the Lord. It's not a very catchy song. I'll just give you a few lyrics from it, though. It said, I'll sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously, and he has hurled both horse and rider into the sea. I like anytime you use the word hurled. That's a quality verse. The Lord is my strength and my song. Can you imagine? They're just partying. They're going, that's it. Here we are. This is my God. I will praise him. My Father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a warrior. The Lord kicked butt. Yahweh is his name. Everybody say it. 1, 2, 3. Give me a Y. It's that thing. Pharaoh's chariots and army. He has hurled them into the sea. The finest of Pharaoh's officers are drowned in the Red Sea. You kind of get the feeling they've got some hurt feelings, and they are celebrating that the enemy is not just no longer around, but they're dead. He didn't just kill him, he killed them dead. And they're thrilled, and they're partying. Catch your breath at the end of that. The women with the tambourines played. Everybody sang, everybody danced, everybody celebrated. And then the next day, Moses, their leader, he begins to lead them down the road. Matter of fact, when we start looking at it, Pharaoh's horses and charioteers rushed into the sea. The Lord brought the water crashing down on them. And this is the whole story. Now, that story is done, though. And now there's tomorrow. What they did is they moved, and as they did, they had to start crossing the desert. They were in the desert for 3 days. So they are 3 days from, we're writing songs about this. This will be the day that people speak about for the next 1,000 years. We will never forget this day. This is the most amazing day in the history of days. 3 days later, they find themselves in the desert. And here's a thing maybe you don't know, because you may have never been to a desert. They tend to be dry. It was dry, and people were thirsty, and people were frustrated. Matter of fact, this is where we pick up just 3 days later. Then the people complained, and they turned against Moses. What are we going to drink? When they crossed over, they were like, way to go, God, way to go, Mo. They had old Mo on their side. 3 days later, they're like, this stinks. It's a mistake. We should have stayed there. I'd rather be a slave than be thirsty, which doesn't even make sense. I'd rather stay there. Maybe it wasn't so bad. This is horrible. This may be the worst day of my life. I'm so thirsty. I would complain more, but I can't even talk. I'm so thirsty. And this is where they land. God hears their complaints. Trust me, Moses heard their complaints. Like a baby with a dirty diaper, they weren't going to shut up until it was done. And what Moses does is he finally goes to this place as they're in the desert, and there's this little body of water. When they get there, it's called Mara. When they get to this place, they go, water, let's get that. The first person tastes it, and the Bible says it's bitter, but it's not talking about it bad taste. It was undrinkable. It was non-potable. It was bad. It's going to make you sick and die. Don't drink the water. It is that. It's not going to make you a little sick. It's going to make you a lot dead. They can't drink it. The only thing worse than not having water is having water you can't drink. Look right there. And you go, that could fix my problem, but that'll cause a bigger problem. You know there were some arguments. You know every kid in the desert was going, I'm drinking the water, and moms were saying no. And every guy is going, I think I would be okay. I have a really strong stomach. All of those things are happening. God deals with it. God deals with Moses. He tells Moses to pick up this piece of wood. He throws the piece of wood in, and it makes the water drinkable. It takes away, it's another miracle, just like God, the plagues that he did, the opening of the sea. Now here is another one. 3 days after the biggest miracle in the history of miracles, God does a miracle. And the people were like, yes, this is great. And all of a sudden they're writing songs about him again. As a matter of fact, when it finishes, here's where we find ourselves. It says it was there at Marah that the Lord set before them the following decree as a standard to test their faithfulness to him. So now he has delivered them. He has done the miracle of getting them out of there. And now he's brought them 3 days later till they completely turned against Moses, which means they're turning against God, does another miracle, and then he says something. All right, we've done this enough. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. Don't make me turn this thing around. He said, I'm going to give you this decree as a standard to test your faithfulness to me. He said, here's his deal. If you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord, your God, and do what is right in his sight. That's so key, by the way. If you will listen and do what is right, here's the key phrase, in his sight, obeying his commands and keeping all his decrees, then I will not make you suffer any of the diseases I sent on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. And here was his message. I can care for you. I did. Did you notice? Yeah, it's great, it's great. They got water now. As you had need, I've met need. You can trust me. I am the Lord your God. But here's what I expect from you. I'm saying I'm with you. If you will just follow me, listen to me carefully, and do what is right in my sight, not yours. That's the key. If you'll do that, I will be your healer. I will be your deliverer. I will build the life for you that you need built, but you have to listen to me and trust me and follow me and do what's right in, here's the key, my sight, not yours. And so they're all like, well, heck yeah. I mean, of course. Look, he delivered us. He parted the sea, and now he's giving us water. Ain't he great? Isn't it just awesome? And so off they go on this journey that was going to last a long time. To get to the land that God had promised, they had a journey. And honestly, the purpose of it was to test their faithfulness to him. And by the way, God always gives us a journey. And the reason he lets us walk through a journey is to test our faithfulness to him and to teach us. To teach us what? Listen carefully and do what's right in his sight. That's the whole goal. If you're wondering why your life is the way it is, I can't explain all of the detail of it, but I can say the bottom line is that God will do whatever it takes to help conform us into who we're supposed to be. And so that's where we start. That's what's going on. He said, I got big plans for you, and here's what's going to go on. And so off they went. After they made it just a little while, they ran out of food. How much food can you carry for that many people? And they got hungry, and it was hot, and they didn't get where they were going fast enough. And people started saying, are we there yet? And nothing worked the way they wanted it to work. And eventually, this will shock you, everybody started complaining. They didn't complain a little, they complained a lot. They were like a baby. You know what I want? I want something to eat. When do you want it? I want it now. I want something to drink. When do you want it? I want it now. My diaper's dirty. I want it fixed. I'm dirty. I want to be clean. I don't feel good. I want to feel better. I need attention. Nobody's giving me attention. Help. Stop. Fix it now. It's funny when you're a baby or livable because you're cute. When you're a few 100,000, bunch of grumpy, complaining people, it wasn't cute. It's frustrating. And it was frustrating to Moses, and it was frustrating to God. Because all he wanted him to do is say, I bet the same God who delivered me didn't bring me out here to let me die. I suspect, as he has seen me through, he will again. I can trust him. He has proven himself faithful. I bet he'll be faithful again. And they had this issue that they could have gratitude in one moment and then entitlement in the next. And I read about them and I'm like, you sorry sons of guns. I mean, what's your deal? Get over yourself. And then I watch my own life, and in the same day, I'll be honest with you, I can wake up in the morning with such a good attitude and drive into work, going to get the first thing done. I can lose and find myself shifting from really grateful person who has some perspective on life to what the heck? Why is this going on? Why? Why not? What are those people doing? Is the whole world crazy? Am I the only sane one? Well, it's what they did. As a matter of fact, they did it so much that God heard their frustration. He heard them whining. He heard them complaining. And so he said to Moses, I've heard the Israelites' complaints. Now tell them, shut up or I'm going to kill you. That's what I would have told them. But he told them this, tell them in the evening you'll have meat to eat, and in the morning you'll have all the bread you want, and then you'll know, get this, that I'm the Lord your God. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show up again. I'm going to meet your needs again. And so in the evening, there were quail that flew over and landed all around that would feed. I mean, they just came out of nowhere. Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. Meat to eat. And they got them and they cooked them. It's like having a Chick-fil-A next door for free. That's what they got out of the deal. And at night they were like, I'm glad not only do we have something, we have meat to eat. And if you're me, that's what it's all about. Give me meat and bread. I'm happy for life, right? And they did. And day after day he provided. In the mornings they woke up and out as the fog would lift from the night before, as the dew would lift from the night before, they would find manna. This bread they would pick up, and he gave them rules. He said, here's how much you can pick up, but don't pick up more than you can use because it won't last till tomorrow. So you know what they did? Picked up more because they were worried about tomorrow. And then tomorrow they woke up and it was foul. Not like the bird, foul like spoiled, like rancid. And then they had maggots and stuff, and they were like, oh, what do we do? To which God probably would have said, you could have listened. What are you, 2 months old? Just do what I tell you. If you'll do what I tell you and do what's right in my sight, I'll take care of you. Over and over, they did what was right in their own sight, and it broke the relationship with them. It hurt them, and it brought pain into their lives. And so again, they dealt with this crazy struggle. And those first days they got to meet, and they were like, you know what? We should have remembered. God is good. He always shows up, not exactly when we want him, but boy, he does. And when he does, wow, meat to eat. Got up the next morning, they've got like Pop-Tarts is what I assume is there, or maybe biscuits they've got gravy, I don't know. But they get stuff to eat. And in the morning and in the evening, twice a day, God said, I promise you'll remember me because I'll provide what you need. And they did for a minute. Until then they said, is there any other kind of birds that you could bring down? Have you considered turkey? Have we considered maybe a steak occasionally? Eat more beef? They had that little saying. How about this? I appreciate Chick-fil-A. I would like to say it has been our pleasure to eat that. But you know what would be great? A hamburger. Not with ham, but the burger. How about that? How about in the morning, instead of that, could we get maybe a pancake or two? A waffle would be great. Some French toast. Hello. They got so frustrated with that. God gave them some rules. They struggled with the rules. Can I just give you some of it as we go through? He told them this, you can't store it. And so they tried to store it. The reason he did is entitlement always insists on control. And what God said is you're going to have to trust me every day. What I want to do is trust God. We have one good day, and I'll trust God for a lifetime. He said, I will put you in positions the rest of your life where you need to trust me every day. I don't want to be your genie in a bottle. Bring me out when you need me. Give me an order or a wish, and I make it happen. I want to be your God. I want our lives to coincide. I want us to connect together. I want to be your God. I want you to be my people. And what you can't do is control me. You can't demand it. Entitlement insists on control. Here's the first little marker. When you find yourself insisting or demanding control, you're living in an entitled world. And some of you are like, you can just shut up right now, preacher guy. I don't need that. Some of you are elbowing or throwing something at the person in the room with you. And I'm just saying, hey, that's controlling. Don't do that. But I'm just saying all of us fight for control. We fight for it passively. Some of us fight for it directly. But I'm just saying all of us want it. All of us struggle with this. And it is when the tension of gratitude and entitlement shows up when we're struggling with control, because gratitude trusts that God knows best. Instead of saying, God, you better now, and that's not what I asked for. I want to store it up to make sure I've got enough for Tuesday or Wednesday. And God said, I want you to enjoy today for today. And I don't want you to spend your life dreading or guaranteeing tomorrow. What I want you to do is turn your attention toward me and say, he is the God of yesterday, and the reason I can count on him today is because he's proven true yesterday. That's how I do it. It's what's called faith for us. It's what's called trust. They couldn't store it. They couldn't pick from the menu. They didn't get to change their order. Entitlement always wants to customize. I want it my way. I want what I want, the way I want it, when I want it. When you find yourself saying, I appreciate what God has done, but really what I wanted was that. I love the fact that I have something to drive, but I want that. I love the fact that I have a home, and a big portion of the universe, the world we live in, will never have that, but that doesn't help me. The fact that they don't doesn't help me. If I just had one more bedroom, if I had a bigger live, if I had a bigger yard, if I had a bigger whatever, if I just had more property so I didn't have to be close to my weird neighbors, if I had, and we want to customize. When you find yourself being lost in those thoughts, entitlement is showing up in your life. You have steered out of the lane of gratitude and you're driving in the lane of entitlement. Gratitude celebrates God's consistency. It doesn't say, but I appreciate you doing it, but that's not what I wanted. I didn't want onions. Don't put onions on my burger. I don't want that. I want it like that. I want it the way I want it, when I want it, is what we say. That's when we find entitlement. And then the last thing, they couldn't rush God's timing. Entitlement demands it now, and gratitude waits. And for some of us, this is an ugly word. Wait is a 4-letter word for you. It is for me sometimes, the thought of, I'm willing to do what God wants, so let's go. The thought that sometimes my willingness to do what God does also includes God's timing is frustrating because God doesn't understand. And here's the thing, I'm not wired that way. Any of you got that one? I'm not a patient person. That's fine for patient people. Well, bless your heart. I think God would probably say, babies aren't patient either, but part of growing up is you learn patience. If you haven't learned patience, you're not through growing up. That ticked enough of you off. Me too. You know what? I get impatient trying to wait for patience. I get impatient for people who aren't very patient. I don't think I'm impatient, but I know this: when somebody drives too slow in front of me, when somebody doesn't turn when the light turns green, when somebody doesn't get their order ready before they get to the drive-thru and now they stare at the board. It's the same board. How many different places do you go? Come on, get your act together. When people don't do simple things, it frustrates me and I find myself impatient. And simple things is by my definition. In other words, do what it takes for me to feel good about me. Entitlement demands now. Gratitude says, I'm grateful for God's faithfulness. And you know what? It'll play out when it plays out, because I know in the end that He'll be faithful. When we're entitled, we struggle. For these guys, they went out every day and picked up food. And at first, it was the best thing ever. And by the end, it was, you have got to be kidding. Quail again? Are you serious? It's not our pleasure. It is gross. If I have to eat quail one more time, I'm going to throw up. Pop-Tarts again? I don't want biscuits again. Here's a thought. How about sausage? They were Jewish. They didn't do a lot of sausage, just saying. Not a bad option, though. How about this? How about something else? And here's the struggle. When we're entitled, here's what we say. We walk out in the morning and we pick our food up and we say, well, he did it again. Same stupid bread. Get through the day, and in the evening, same stupid meat. Same stupid bread, same stupid meat. I am so tired of that. You know what he did? Hey, what are we having today? He did it again. It's what we do. Here's the crazy thing. When we're grateful, you know what we say? He did it again. It's the very same thing. When I say it as a thin line between entitled and grateful, here is the difference. It can even be the same words. Yeah, I guess I've got something, but I'll be honest, I wish I had something better. I got something, but I don't know why it can't be. I've got something, but why do they have and I don't? He did it again. Did he provide? Yeah, but I mean, it's the same stuff. He did it again. Grateful people say, I woke up again this morning. I have breath. He did it again. The Bible says every day when we wake up, His mercies are new. He did it again. Every day that I wake up and can take in air, hey, but my leg still hurts, my hip still hurts, I have a headache, but He gave me another day of life. He did it again. It's the difference in saying, good Lord, it's morning, and good morning, Lord. One is gratitude. One is entitlement that just says there's bound to be more than this. It is such a struggle for all of us. Finish things up with a couple of things here. I'll give you a few of these, and really they're supposed to help us diagnose. Here's where we start. Where do I complain more than I give thanks? I'm looking for places where I'm sliding into the lane of entitlement. Where do I complain more than I give thanks? Hey, would you do this? The rest of this day, some of you are complaining because I'm not through yet, so get off my back, okay? Some of you are like going to work in the morning. This is going to hit some of you, like the way I say that, for some of us. And when you notice this complaint happening, let it help you understand. Let it be the little rumble strip on the road that says, maybe I'm leaving my lane. Maybe let it be the early detection if you've got a newer car where it beeps when you're switching lanes when you shouldn't. Let it be that little beep that goes off in your head. Not saying I'm a horrible person, just saying maybe in this moment I'm losing sight of what God's done or who God is. Where am I comparing what I have to what others have? When I look around, how easy is it for me to say, I appreciate what I've got, but, and when you put the but in there, you're switching lanes. Beware. Where do I say, this isn't enough instead of thank you? How easy is it for us to look around and say, I love my life. I really do. I appreciate, this is the way I would say, I appreciate what God's done. But here's the deal. Whatever I say after that, and it's reasonable. It's not, hey, I've got this, but what I want is my own jet plane. What I want is my own mansion. What I want is I just want $20 billion. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, man, if I just had a little bit more, this is good, but I wish it were more. Sometimes what I need to work on is my thank you and trust that God will give me what I need because it's His way, not my way. Where am I frustrated because God isn't moving on my timetable? Well, that's a tough one for me. Where am I saying now and He's saying wait? Where am I saying let's go and He's saying I want you to recognize who I am and be with me, and I want you, here's this moment, I want you to be okay where you are before I can take you somewhere else. I live by 40 things that I read every day. A couple of them deal with this issue. One of them says, if I can't love my children, because I wrote it when my children were all home, I thought it meant when they were grown I wouldn't have to worry with it. Just the opposite has proven true. If I can't love my children right where they are, I can never love my children fully. If I can't accept and love them right, I just wish they would do better. I just wish they'd try harder. I wish if I can't love them fully where they are, I can never love them fully because they're always where they are. If I can't be content with where God is moving in my life, I can't be content. It'll never be all I want. Gratitude and entitlement are such a thin line. Where have God's miracles become normal to me? Where in my life have I just started going, well, yeah, I guess it's fine, yeah. When have I started assuming that because I have, I'll always have? I don't ever think about my tires on my car until they're flat. Even if they're just flat on one side. Here's the crazy thing. I can drive 40,000 miles without having one tire issue. And then my tire can go flat, can blow out, whatever. And it's as if my life has come to an end. Why me? I paid a lot of money. I had them rotated. I've kept them. Why me? How could this happen? And if you were to say, well, do you expect to never have a problem? Well, no, I'm not dumb. I know sooner or later. I just didn't think it would be today. It's when I wake up sick and go, how could this happen? I can't afford this right now. I've got too much going on to be sick now. Chris, did you think you would be well every day of your life and never have a sinus infection? Did you think you would never have fill in the blank? And I'd say, well, no, of course I do. I watch other people get sick sometimes. The problem is I didn't expect it now. And what it is there is this piece of me that says I have an expectation to be okay. And when I'm not, I'm like, why? What is up with that? Sometimes I take the miracle of life, the miracle of people who I love and who love me, and that's a miracle. I'm not that easy to love. And I'm not that good at loving other people. And sometimes I just take that as an assumption, and then when it's not, I'm blown away by it because sometimes I make God's miracles just become normal. And the last one, where am I demanding from others? This is in case anybody doesn't feel convicted yet. Where am I demanding from others what I'm not expecting of myself? what am I demanding of others that I'm unwilling to give? I want people to be, fill in the blank. Am I willing to be that or more on my own? Well, of course I am. But really, are you? I can explain why I'm not what I ought to be, but when other people do, it just sounds like lame excuses. Where am I unwilling to give others what I'm expecting from them? Finish up this way. Last 2 days around our church, our staff and lead team and a few friends have sat in a room for 16 hours of deep dive over where have we been for the last 5 years? Where are we going in the next 5 years? Where are we winning? Where are we losing? What have we done right? What have we missed? What do we got to do to get better? How can we grow, not as a church? How can we grow, the people in the room? How can I become the person God intended me to be? How can I learn to lead better? It really is. Sometimes it may not seem like it from a distance, but we fight for that over and over. And the reason is the stakes are so high. That we believe if we, as God said, if you will just listen to me and you will do what is right in my sight, I will bless you and give you what you need and far more. And sometimes the issue is we have to keep us out of the way. And so we've done hours of discussion on honest, more honest than we like to be, more honest than I like for other people to be about me sometimes. It makes me recognize my weaknesses. It makes me recognize my failures. And some of you are like, well, I'm glad you're doing that. All of us should do that. There's some of you that would never sit in the room that long because to ask people honestly to assess, how am I doing? How is the outcome of my effort? Where do I need to grow? Where am I failing? A lot of people would never allow it. And for me, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Sometimes people say things and they don't mean to say it in a way, but I'm just pretty broken. And when people notice it, I know it. It's like I can talk about me. I can talk about my kid. You talk about my kid. I'm going to take your head off. It's that deal. Who do you think you are? Like you don't have crap you need to deal with? And for me, I sit and I have a love-hate relationship because I don't want to be satisfied with less than what God intended. I don't want to be satisfied working in a place that doesn't reach its potential because there's lives that hang in the balance. There's people who need Jesus that hang in the balance. And we work through that like a family. And it's weird because sometimes there's tension because we don't even agree on everything. And we walk through it. But here's the bottom line. Our goal is to say, not is this right in my eyes? Not am I right in my eyes or you right in your eyes, but it's to say, are we truly following what God says? Are we focused on where God is directing? Not, I wish we were that, or I wish we were saying, what does God want? And find ourselves going back to Scripture over and over saying, this is God's mission. Are we on it the way we should be? It's painful. It's intense. It's time consuming. There's no easy fix. And you know what I find in those moments that I can be so picky. I'm like, well, I don't know why everybody can't. If everybody would just. And then there's this other side. I also sat in the room and looked around and said, I am so grateful for these people. These are my friends. These are people I trust. This is people that God has put in my life to better me, to care for me, and to push me to become who I'm supposed to become. I left at moments of those meetings feeling so entitled. Well, yeah, what about you? And I left those meetings feeling so grateful. And you know what I recognize? The difference in entitlement and gratitude is about that line. And I can steer into and out of it, not as a person. I can steer into and out of it in a minute. In a conversation. I can be both in one conversation. I have to start noticing. Where entitlement starts, I have to calm my spirit. I have to say, God, help me see life the way you see it instead of trying to get everybody to see it the way I see it. Help me soften my edges. Help me listen and learn. Help me grow. Help me be humble enough to continue to become a person who lives by what is right in your sight, not just me trying to get what I want. And then when I'm on the other side, I stick at this side too, it being grateful and saying, God, thank you for helping me. I'm doing better. And for some of you need to hear this. You're doing better. You're fighting for this and you're winning. As we go through the holidays, can I tell you, would you just fight with this tension? It's never going away. You're going to be given all these opportunities, some of them right now, some of them tomorrow when you go to work. You're going to be given these tense opportunities to look at it, and you'll feel this entitlement thing boil up in you. Hey, listen, when it does, just take a breath. Remember God has been faithful. Remember God is active. Remember God's promise. Remember He'll see you through. Keep your eyes on what's most important, not just what you want. Recognize entitlement when it comes. And then when you're on the other side and you have these moments, you go, I am so thankful for that. Hey, listen, celebrate that you're winning in that. And some of you are working hard on it. And way to go. Hey, through the Thanksgiving season, could you do this? I don't know what your schedule looks like, and that doesn't matter. I just care about mine. But as you go through it, you're going to feel some entitlement moments, especially if you've got extra people around. When you feel it, recognize it for what it is, and just take a step back. Before you react, allow God to be involved so that way you can respond. And the fruit of God's involvement is peace and love and joy and kindness, faithfulness and gentleness, self-control. Would you allow Him to do that? And then when it happens, would you celebrate and be grateful because God is working in you the things you were put on earth to be, that God is active and He is faithful and He has not quit with you. And the one who started this work in you, He is continuing to be faithful, even when at times we're veering off the road where we should be. So God, help us with that this week. Help us with that in our lives. Help us not be so prideful that we think we're either or, to recognize we both deal with both sides of this street. Help us stay in the lane that leads to happiness and purpose and contentment and fulfillment and gratitude. And then help us recognize little lane alert when we're not going where we're supposed to, and help us correct quickly before we hurt ourselves, before we hurt you, and before we hurt the people we love. We ask it in your name. Amen. Hey, thanks for watching.